Hello guys, I hope you're doing great. I'm doing great over here. In this video I want to cover on the topic, what is the position of your case number? So I'll be discussing on understanding your case number as a DV lottery winner. And with me here I have an Excel sheet, as you can see, and we are going to go through it. So for us to understand about the case number, we'll have to cover some brief introduction on the DV lottery case number issuing process. But before then, please welcome back to Verified. So this is the place where you get verified information, and if you are a new one, please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and if you're returning, I say thank you. So let's go directly to the topic. In the DV lottery program, there are 6 regions. So the regions from which the selectees come from, they are divided into 6 regions. And these regions are, we have EU for Europe, AF for Africa, AS for Asia, SA for South America, OC for Oceania, and NA for North America. So these are the 6 regions from which the selectees are taken from. So if you come from a country in Asia, you are in the Asia region. If you come from a country in Europe, you are in the Europe region. If you are coming from a country from Africa, you are in the African region. Each region is given 1/6 of the total immigrant representation. And remember, the immigrants, they come to the United States through various means. Not only the DV lottery program. They can come to the United States through family, they can come to the United States through work, and also through the DV lottery program. The 1/6 representation of the total immigrants of every region is obtained from data from the past 5 years. For example, from the past 5 years data, if a region has a total representation of the total immigrants of above 1/6, then that region will be called high admission region. And on the other hand, if a region has less than 1/6 of the total immigrant representation within the last 5 years, that region will be called low admission region. As you can see here, currently the low admission regions include Africa, Europe, North America, and Oceania, while the high admission regions include Asia and South America. And also currently, the high admission regions account for a total of 80% of the total immigrants representation, while the low admission regions, they account only for about 20% of the total representation of the immigrants. And therefore, when it comes to the DV lottery program, the low admission region will be given a chance of 80% representation of the DV lottery immigrants, while the high admission region will be given only 20% representation in the DV lottery program. So they interchange. Now, having understood that brief introduction, now let's come to how the case numbers are issued in every diversity visa program. Normally, between the month of October and first week of November, applicants they submit their entries for the DV lottery application, and they will do that in their numbers. Up to millions of people will submit their entries. After the application period is closed, every applicant's entry will be given randomly by a computer numbers from 1 up to whatever number of the applicants. For example, if we have the total number of applicants being 13 million in a certain year, then the computer will randomly assign all the entries random numbers from 1 up to 13 million. And this selection will not be affected by the level of education, your status, if you're single or married, or whatever situation. It will be randomly assigned to every entry submitted. For example, in our sample example here, we have people submitting their entries from Europe, from Africa, from Oceania, from Asia, from North America, from South America, from all the 6 regions. And in our sample, we have a total of 100 applicants. And we'll be using this sample to clearly understand how these case numbers are issued. After our 100 applicants have submitted their entries in the DV lottery program, now we have a computer that assigns all these applicants random numbers. So our number will be from 1 up to the total number of applications. I hope that is clear up to that point. So let us proceed and assign numbers, case numbers, for these applicants. For example, randomly, let's give numbers. Let's say, for example, we give this one number 1, and then number 2, then we go down, we say 3, we say 4, 5, 6. So we are issuing numbers randomly to the applicants. Therefore, in our DV program sample here that we'll use as an example to explain the issuing of the case numbers, we have 100 applicants. And these applicants are coming from all regions. We see Europe, Africa, North America, Asia, Oceania, North America, and all the regions. And the computer has issued the number randomly without following any order. As you can see, just random case numbers. After it has issued random case numbers on the applicants of the DV lottery, then they decide on the cutoff number. I mean the total number of selectees in that DV lottery program. For example, if it is DV2022, they will decide we want to select 110,000 selectees out of the 13 million people that have applied, for example. In our example, we have 100 applicants, and now we determine the number of people we want to select, up to what number. For example, in our example, we shall select 30 applicants. So of these issued numbers that were randomly issued, we shall select from number 1 here, number 2 up to number 30. So that's what we're going to do. So now guys, here are our selectees, the 30 of them, and the rest of the applicants, they were not selected in this random selection. So these are the successful selectees through the random assignment of case numbers by a computer. So this is our case number column. Now, after the computer has randomly selected the selectees, follows the other step in the selection process. Now, every selectee that are remaining will have to undergo the process of further checking the photo qualities. Did the applicant submit the correct photo as required? Number 2, did the selectee submit more than one application? And some other minor checking. And they will now do the removal process. Now, let's say for example, our selectee here submitted double entries, so he is kicked out. Let's say for example, this one also did some mistakes and was kicked out. This one as well did some mistake and kicked out. This as well did some mistake and was kicked out. And then let's say for example, this one did some mistakes and was kicked out. Same as case as this, was kicked out. And therefore we continue. Let's say for example, this also did some mistakes and was kicked out. This also did some mistakes and was kicked out. So in the real sense, we have some spaces remaining within the selectees. So these spaces that remain from removing those people that did mistakes during application, we call them holes. So there are spaces remaining in between the selectees and we call them holes. So let's continue. Let's eliminate some more who did some mistakes. For example, that one did some mistakes and was removed. And then we come here, this one did some mistakes and was removed. So we have some spaces remaining within the selectees. So if we remove these spaces, let's remove and see how many people we end up with as successful selectees. These are the remaining successful selectees that submitted the application correctly. So as you can see, the total number of selectees that we took before this filtering process was a total of 30 selectees. And what we are remaining with is just 19 selectees remaining. They were 30, but now we are remaining with 19. So we have case number 1, case number 2, there is no case number 3, we have case number 4, there is 5, there is no case number 6, we have 7, we have no case number 8, we have 9, 10, there is no 11, we have 12, there is no 13, there is 14, 15, 16 is missing, 17, 18, and so on. So there are spaces remaining, there are holes remaining in there. And since we wanted 30 selectees, they will not add other selectees from those who did not make in the first selection. They will not do that. Why? Because not all selectees that are remaining here will be single. For example, you'll find selectee numbers with case number 7, maybe he is a family or she has a family, therefore she has some derivatives, or he has some derivatives. Maybe selectee with case number 19 will also have a family, maybe he or she is married, and so on and so forth. So what they usually do is that they have given every region a certain possibility number or probability number of the selectees having a family. Let's return up here. Like for example, we have possibility of derivatives. So for example, for Europe, based on former DV lottery programs, maybe they would have realized that the probability of a selectee having a family is 1.2. The average ratio of an African selectee having a family is 2.4, and the average ratio of an Asian having a derivative is 2.5, and so on and so forth. So they will use this formula to add up on the remaining slots to fill up the holes. And this is so, or this is done so, because for the DV lottery program, there are a maximum of roughly 55,000 visas set aside for that process. And those 55,000 visas are inclusive of every derivative of the selectees. So if selectee with case number 1 here has a family of 4, those are 5 visas, and they all count in those 55,000 visas issued in the DV lottery program. I hope up that point I'm clear. So what they'll go ahead and do is that they will multiply these selectees with the probability of having derivatives of each region. For example, now we've now placed the probability of having the derivatives against each region. Now what they will do is they will take the total number of selectees per region and then multiply by that probability, that ratio of the possibility of having a derivative, and then get the total. For example, for Asia region, AS, we have how many entries? We have 1, 1, we just have 1 selectee in our case. So it will be 1 times 2.5, which is 2, 2.5. Let's put it here. And then we have EU, we have 1, 2, we have 2 selectees from EU, so it will be 2 times the possibility of having a derivative, that is 1.2. So 2 times 1.2, which gives us 2.4. And then we come to Africa, AF. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 11 by the possibility of having derivatives for Africa, which is 2.4. We get 26.4. Then we go to North America. How many selectees do we have for North America? We have 1 selectee, which is 1 multiplied by 1.6. We get 1.6 selectees. And then we have South America, We have 1, 2, 3. 3 from South America with the possibility of having derivative 1.5. So 3 times 1.5, we get 4.5. 4.5. What other region is remaining? What other region is remaining? We have Oceania. So Oceania, we only have 1, which has a possibility of having derivative of 2. Now, they then sum up the total number of selectees, and it will be the total number of this, which gives us 39.4 roughly. So this means we will have 39 selectees. So we began with 30 selectees. We went through the filtration to remove those who submitted wrong entries or entries with errors, and we ended up with 19. And then after calculating the total number of possible selectees by multiplying the total number per region by the possibility of having a derivative of that region, then we ended up with 39 selectees. So when they will be giving out the total number of selectees, this is the number that they will give. So they normally give a bigger number than the total number of visas available. For example, we have the total number of visa available roughly 55,000, but the total number of selectees per each DV lottery program will be around 190 to 110 selectees. And this is to cover up for those who may fail to go for the interview, or who may never even consider checking if they won. So in such scenario, they will fill up with the excess number of selectees. Therefore, having understood that whole process, I come back to tackle the question, what is the position of my case number? If we take an example of this individual here with case number 29 in our sample DV lottery selection process, this individual with case number 29 does not mean that he has 28 people ahead of him or her. And as we can see, he or she only has 18 people ahead of him or her. So if you have a case number that is AF 43,000, it does not mean that you have 42,999 people ahead of your case number. No, you might be having 43,000 case number from Africa, but you have only 23 or 25,000 people ahead of you, rather than 42,999 people ahead of you. So your case number does not define your position, because there might exist holes before you. In another example, if you are from Europe and your case number is EU 23,000, it does not mean that you have 22,999 case numbers ahead of you. You might be EU 23,000, but you may be having 15,000 case numbers ahead of you only. And with that, I hope that the point is clearly at home and you'll no longer be confused. Please like and share the video. And if you're new one, again, I ask you to subscribe to the channel. And let's meet in the next video.